Thanks, Samir, for setting the context, and thanks, Sreemoyee and Nitya, for joining me on this Power Pact. And I love the diversity representation of this fireside chat here. So thank you for being my partners on this. And the topic of our discussion is going to be about reimagining customer experience, given what is happening in the Gen AI and the AI space. And I'm looking forward for our discussion and learning from you all. So Nitya is an executive director at NielseniQ, and Sreemoyee is the COE lead, especially focusing on voice of customer, which is something which is very close to my heart, Sreemoyee, and she's joining us from Philips. Yeah. So without much ado, I would like to kickstart this discussion, and we'll definitely keep it as interactive as possible. Yeah. So we all know that we are, at the cusp of where AI is intersecting with literally every parts, right? And especially with the traditional customer experiences practices, where it's changed over several transformative ways, right? Where you had, several functions independently doing their own thing, but then, there was a space where everyone realized the importance of customer experience and everything started revolving around that. And I think now, fundamentally itself, it's changed the way that businesses have started interacting and serving their customers, right? So from my perspective, I think, some key areas where AI has, making that very big significant impact is definitely on personalization. I see a lot of more tailored interactions, a lot of dynamic content generation based on, how it can adapt in real time to suit each customer's preferences, behaviors. And I'm sure in your respective organizations as well, you must be doing a lot of customer segmentation strategies. And, if you look at customer support, I mean, I think, whenever we all are also independently interacting with any brands, we must have, talk to a humanoid bot or a chat bot, or some kind of an AI powered virtual assistant, right, which basically is able to give you instant customer responses to your queries, and it's becoming more humanized as we go about, right? So these are some key takeaways which I'm seeing, which is changing a lot over the landscape, especially going from a lot of data driven part, right? So I would love to understand from you, Nitya, on what do you think of these views, and maybe, from what you're looking at Nielsen as well.
Yeah, Sudha, thanks. I think you kind of rightly, talked about personalization. I think that's something that we are seeing in our space as well. We started this journey on using AI, conversational AI, and now we have gotten into deploying something into our tools and basically democratizing usage of data and analytics for our customers.
Yeah.
So I think anybody who doesn't know coding can also draw insights
Absolutely.
from our data. Otherwise,
Yeah.
that's kind of literally reduce the waiting time. People had to wait for somebody to do the analysis, come up with the presentation, and then you would take action. And now at least, your first cut, analysis is there ready for you. You ask your questions and at least your basics are solved, and then you can get into deeper level and take actionable insights. So at least we have seen a lot more that the landscape is changing. And I think that's something that we are seeing.
No, and I love the point that you mentioned around democratizing of the data, right? And that is a theme which I heard across multiple forums as well. So I really love that. So thank you for it. So Sreemoyee, over to you.
Absolutely. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Great. Thanks, Sudha. I think it's a lovely way to start the conversation because indeed the change is sometimes overwhelming. Even
Yeah.
as professionals, with a few years in our portfolio, we still feel overwhelmed with the amount of change that we see because that's
Yeah.
driven by Gen AI. I think if we look at traditional customer experience strategies and now we try to adapt to what Gen AI is enabling us to do, then one word definitely comes to mind is omni-channel. So all of us who have worked with customer experience, maybe say in 2010 to 2015, if I look at that time period,
Mm,
we were really hard strapped and had to choose, okay, which
mm,
are the media channels that I can afford, and
mm,
then adapt my strategies accordingly. But
correct.
Gen AI has thrown it open to
Mm,
everybody,
mm,
and you can have omni-channel presence, and you can ensure that the level of experience you're providing is absolutely similar across
mm,
channels, which was also very difficult to do prior to the Gen AI revolution.
mm,
So I think the omni channel factor definitely comes to mind. And I think Sudha and Nitya, you both already mentioned how hyper personalization is one of the things, and segmentation versus personalization,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
segmentation has been one of those moments of truth for CX for a long time, and now
correct.
I think it has been somewhat replaced, not completely, I would say, by the personalization angle that is brought in by Gen AI.
Yeah, and I think the beautiful fusion of how customer segmentation, with respect to even behavioral science and, knowledge AI and the human AI, which is playing into that, cusp where it's bringing in the personalization into hyper personalization, right? And as you rightly said, Shrima, for people who've been doing this for years, have seen that evolution very, very drastically as well. And with the GPT-4o, I think it's going to, only enhance to that next point, right? So, Shima, I would like to understand from you, around some successful implementations maybe that you've done, or maybe even if it isn't been as successful, right? But there would have been some lessons that you were learning with respect to, some Gen AI use case, which was driving or meant to drive customer experience for you all.
Right. So I think I will just. You are right, Sudha, when you say that you put emphasis on the fact that it's successful or not,
Correct.
because I think we are all in this journey together, but the difficulties are sometimes a bit too much.
Mm,
We have completed the project, but implementation is not possible because of various reasons, whether it's
mm,
policies, whether it's usage of data, whether it's customer privacy. There's various of these angles that we have
yes.
to keep in
Yeah.
mind. Far it is a
Mm,
little more difficult to achieve that implementation when we are dealing with customer data, because I think across regions, markets, businesses, what is happening is that people are coming up with the policies, and the
mm,
guardrails are being put up, because you
correct.
cannot really just get away with anything,
Mm.
irrespective of whether you are using traditional customer experience or Gen AI. So we are just very, very mindful and respectful of that.
That. And Nitya, I would want to understand from you on, some of the implementations that probably, as part of Nielsen, you guys have done. Yeah.
I think we have been on this journey for quite a while. So we have
Mm.
gone through our trials and
Yeah.
tribulations and learnings, and I think it's only now that we are starting to see the benefit of all those,
Mm-hmm.
you know, experiments fail fast coming.
Correct.
It's not that we are overnight there. So
Mm.
I think, and even this, it's a journey. So I think we
Yeah.
just launched Ask Earther for our clients, which is directly embedded into our final software, which
Mm.
clients can directly use. So that's something that we have done, which is live. Within which Sreemoyee, you were talking about, right? Even within us, for us, we have started to use Copilot. So the time taken to code, the time taken
Mm.
to do something, I think that is considerably coming down. So efficiency
Yeah.
is increasing within the teams itself by using this. But I think what
Mm.
that brings us to is the knowledge gap. And I think that is something we need to address, because I think the pace at which technology is evolving, I think our learning mindset needs to continue and we need to keep up at it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I think that's something that we need to be very, very careful about. And GDPR is something very, very critical, especially in a research company, because without that, we don't do a thing. So I think
Mm.
it's very important how we maintain privacy.
No, correct. And So I come from an enterprise AI firm, right? So whenever we go for consulting or when we're talking about our conversational AI platform or any of our products, then, the first thing that is asked is, just like the way you said, how safe is my data, right? And, what are you going to do beyond using my data, right? And how are you going to use it? And then comes the point of, how best it's going to help my employee experience or the customer experience. So that first foundation here is, using the data wisely, right? And using it with all the guardrails. And thank you for explaining that. Yeah, but Nitya, with the same point that you were mentioning, I just want to extend it a bit,
Yeah.
to understand from you on, how do you think organizations or enterprises now for the future can be ready to stay ahead of the curve, right, with all that is happening around us, in order to ensure that their customer remains the pivot point and, they are able to meet up to the customer's expectations.
I think what you mentioned was the first, the most important thing.
Yeah.
Customer is the first thing. I think
Yeah.
that we should never forget, no matter what AI comes up or our
Correct.
technology comes up.
Yeah.
So I think being customer centric or client obsessed is something that we need to continue doing, because only then will we understand what are the touch points that they are dealing with and what are the pain points they're dealing with. Because once you know that, you will know, okay, what are the processes being followed, and
Hmm.
then the mapping of processes and then the mapping of technology to be able to address their problems come into. So I think the starting point is, be client focused and continue to do that, because
Hmm.
only then can you lay down your
Hmm.
strategy for the
Yeah.
future. The second thing I would do is continue to learn and experiment,
Hmm.
because when as a journey we started right from mapping all our processes and then evaluating
Yeah.
where is it that we can leverage what, right from data
Correct.
collection to data processing to data reporting to
Yeah.
finally giving it to consumers. So you
Yeah.
can, it's not that it can't be applied anywhere, it can be applied everywhere. It depends upon how you leverage it. So I think
Correct.
it's important to kind of lay that landscape and then try as many experiments and do small. And
Hmm.
once it's successful, scale it up. So I think those are some of the learnings that we had.
And what about you, Sreemoyee? What do you think for your personal views are here?
No, absolutely. I think while Nitya was talking, I was also thinking on, if I really had to pick two of
Hmm.
the things that every organization should do to stay on top of this wave that's taking us all by, to a thrilling
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
One is, of course, invest in the right
Yeah.
technologies. I mean, if you are in an industry which does not need a chatbot right now, then just don't go into it, because everybody else is
Because
doing it.
everyone
So
has it.
invest
Correct.
relevant in a relevant way, and
Hmm.
into the right cutting edge technologies. There are just so many of them that sometimes, yes, it gets to
Yeah.
be a bit too much, so you need to make that very clear decision. And then the second one, which I think is so very important, is who is going to use all this cutting edge technology that you're using. It's
Hmm.
your current team, it's your manpower.
Yeah.
And at any point in time, the employees that you have, your responsibility should be, the topmost responsibility actually should be EX, so that
Hmm.
promotes CX. So
Correct.
why I say this is because the way I think about it is that if there is a business problem, then a seasoned business professional who has been working in that company for, say, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, would be far more able to leverage AI by picking it up and upskilling
Yeah.
himself or herself than a newbie data scientist or data architect will be able to do that for you. So
Correct.
yes, there is a little bit of lag time which you are giving to your employees to upskill themselves and bring them up the curve when it comes to AI, because it's still very, very new. And not
Yeah.
all of us know that. I think we are very, very lucky that we are in the analytics domain, which is very
Absolutely.
close and have
Yeah.
seen the whole change. But
Yeah.
I think it's very important to empower your teams to
Hmm.
ensure that whatever you're investing in doesn't go waste.
That's true. No, thank you for summing it up beautifully. And I think I would, want to sum this up. We had a very interesting conversation, and it was great having both of you alongside with me on this fireside chat. I think, very important points that you both brought up where one is, don't forget that the customer is the pivotal. And here the customer could be your end customer or could be even your internal employees, which is the balance, right? And invest in these wisely, because everything is going to revolve around that, right? Irrespective of the way, you remember that you've got your end customer experience as your point. And I think curiosity is important, because, the more the curious organizations are and more aware on what is happening around, I think that's going to also help them be, always stay ahead, right? And it's important that they stay ahead at least 2-3 miles, because it's going to be, it's a very competitive space for all of us. And in order to stay ahead in the race, it's important to have that agility. And so I firmly believe that being agile to all of these, changes that you both were talking about is super critical. Yeah. So thanks once again to both of you. And, looking forward to have your connects. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.